Hello and welcome to the littlest sewing room. Today I'm going to be showing you how to thread this Falak FK-114 Chainstitch embroidery machine. One of the main differences with a chainstitch machine over any other standard sewing machine is that it threads from the underside of the machine. With a chainstitch machine you only have one thread to worry about, so you don't have to worry about bobbins and things. So let's get started. One of the key things that you need when it comes to threading this kind of machine is one of these special threading needles, I suppose you'll call them. It has a small hook on the end. I don't know if you can see that in there. Can you see that? That hook is so you can catch your thread when threading the machine. It makes your life so much easier. I find these are very easy to get lost. I mean, you get several with them with your machine when you buy it, and they are easy enough to order replacements. But in order not to lose them quite so often, because I end up with them all over the sewing room, I've attached a couple of big pieces of thread onto this. You can attach a piece of ribbon, whatever, so you can always find this. This is your friend. Do not lose this wire. It's very important. As you can see under the machine, I've got a small thread stand set up. I'm using small cones of thread at the moment. I'm using a Florini thread that I bought from Lord's Sewing in the UK. I have got some larger cones of thread coming from Falak, which will arrive at some point in the next couple of weeks, and I will do a separate video on those. But for today I'm using small cones of thread, so I only need a small thread stand. There are a lot of different options. If you buy larger cones of thread, then I've seen people use kitchen towel holders, that kind of thing. But find something that works for you, just to sit your threads on so that they can run nice and smoothly through from the underside of the machine. Okay, so now we've got a nice view of the underside of the machine. Here we've got our tension plates that the thread needs to run through. There's a thread guide at the back, and then there's a tension spring thread guide at the front. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my trusty threader and I'm going to put it through the hole on the thread guide that is behind the tension springs. I don't know how well you can see that there, but I've just took that through the hole in that piece of metal there, and I'm going to take my thread, that's the end of my thread, and I'm going to hook it onto my threading wire. So you make a little loop and hook it onto your threading wire, and then just pull that through that hole and pull it down to start with. So once you've got your thread through that thread guide at the back, you then need to get your thread and very carefully loop it around the back of your tension discs and through your tension discs. This can be a bit fiddly to do. So through your tension discs and on the inside of this little hook here and round. So now you've got your thread nicely looped around your tension discs, and then bring your thread up and into this spring here, and then just let it hang for now. So what we need to do next is we need to pull the thread up from the bottom of the machine to the top through the looper, and then hook the thread onto the looper. This is a spare looper I have here. This is what is fitted underneath this plate and into the machine. Okay, and as you can see, the looper has a little groove on, and that's where your thread will need to run through on the machine. So what we need in order to pull the thread through the looper is we need our threading wire. We have to turn our handle to roughly the 6 o'clock position underneath the machine, which the handle turns the loop around. Okay, so once it's in about the 6 o'clock position on the machine, you will see that there is a gap in the loop. If you turn your loop around with the handle, you'll be able to see it go round, and at a certain point it does look like there's a big gap. So you get your threading needle and you put it down the larger hole at the front of your base plate. So if you were looking at one of these pieces, you need to push it through the larger hole, and we push that all the way through till it comes out the underside of the machine. This is what it will look like on the underside of the machine. There's your threading needle. Can you see it going up and down? Yeah, and you've got your thread. So carefully take your thread, make sure it stays in this spring here, and hook it onto the bottom of your threading needle and pull your thread up onto the top of the machine. order for you to be able to see better on this video, I have removed the presser foot. You don't need to do that normally when you're threading your machine. It's just literally so you guys can have a view. So right, now we've got the thread along the top. You can see you can't see any of the looper bar here at all. So take your handle and slowly turn it round until you can see your looper come into position. You see that? That's your looper there. And there is the notch that is within your looper. You need to get your thread into the notch that is on the looper and then pull the thread round to the back of the machine. Now we're ready to sew. So what I'm doing, I'm just keeping a very light tension on the thread that runs through the back of the looper. I don't want it to come unhooked from the looper. I'm carefully moving my project underneath the foot of the machine. Whilst I do this, I'm also making a note of which direction the machine is going to sew in. So what you have on the machine, let me angle this up ever so slightly. So what you have on this machine is something called a nose. And in this case, my nose is pointing forwards. This screw is at the back of the nose is at the front. It's a little ridged piece of metal. And that lets me know that when it stitches, it's going to be stitching in that direction. So I put my project underneath, put my presser foot down. I'm keeping a very light hold on the thread that we threaded through because I don't want to lose it. Get my handle in place, bit of power, can you see? We start to sew. Your machine should pick your thread up that easily. If it doesn't, have a look at which direction your needle is facing. So when you put your needle in your needle bar, make sure that the hook is facing towards you. So you'll turn the nose so the nose of the machine is facing towards you, and then your hook needs to be lined up with that in order to do chain stitch. I'll discuss more about needle positioning for chain stitch and moss stitch in later videos. But thank you for watching with me for today, and I hope it has helped you in order to be able to thread your Falak FK-114 or a similar chain stitch sewing machine. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.